F-104 Starfighter is probably one of the most controversial jet fighters of all times. It's one of those things you either love or hate, and it was mostly its service with the German Luftwaffe which resulted in nicknames such as Widowmaker or Flying Coffin. Here is 5 things you probably didn't know about this iconic jet. This video is sponsored by Conflict of Nations, a free online player versus player real-time strategy game which enables you to choose a real-world nation and lead it in a present-time global conflict. Play against up to 100 other players in scenarios that may take weeks to complete. Research a unit such as F-16, MiG-29 or F-14 Tomcat and use them on the battlefield. Declare war on your neighbors or forge alliances with them. Choose your own strategy and engage in epic battles all over the world. Best thing about Conflict of Nations is its accessibility. You can play it on both your PC and your mobile device on the same account. Viewers of Showtime 112 who sign up by clicking the link below will receive an exclusive gift, 13,000 gold and 1 month of premium account features for free. The offer is only available for 30 days, so click the link in the video description, choose your country and start fighting for victory. Number 1. It was used in an attempted assassination of a king. On 18 November 1972, King Hussein of Jordan, a pilot himself, was nearly killed by his own air force. A rebel officer flying an F-104 strafed the king's helicopter as he was about to take off. Major Talal al-Halib aimed poorly and missed. It seems that Halib died when his airplane was shot down by other F-104s. He was allegedly motivated either by Libya or by Palestinians. Number 2. It took part in a hostage rescue. On 23 May 1977, a group of Moluccan nationalists hijacked a train in the Netherlands. Over 50 people were held hostage for 20 days. At the same time, another group took over 100 hostages in an elementary school around 20 kilometers away. Moluccans fought for the Dutch in the Dutch East Indies. After this colony was lost, the Moluccans were forcibly exiled to Netherlands, and the government apparently made some promises it couldn't keep. This made some Moluccans prone to radical actions, including hijacking trains and schools. After almost 3 weeks of negotiations, it was decided to end the crisis by force. 6 F-104s of the Royal Dutch Air Force overflew the train 3 times at full afterburner, with the aim of disorienting the hijackers and making the hostages drop down to the floor. Marines of the counter-terrorist force attacked the train. In the end, 2 hostages and 6 out of 9 hijackers died in the operation. Number 3. It participated in the Vietnam War. Although this type is not commonly associated with the Vietnam War, it nevertheless participated in it. F-104C was first deployed to Da Nang, South Vietnam in April 1965, and since June 1966, Starfighters operated from Udon, Thailand. The type flew some combat air patrol missions, but was also employed in high-value assets escort and close air support. It never managed to shoot down any MiGs, but it must be said that it never really had an opportunity to do so because the Vietnamese MiGs never attempted to engage it, or any of the aircraft it escorted. In 5,306 combat missions, 14 starfighters were lost in this conflict. 6 to ground fire, 4 to non-combat causes, 3 to surface-to-air missiles, and 1 to enemy fighters. The fighters, however, did not belong to the Vietnamese People's Air Force, but instead to the Chinese People's Liberation Army Air Force. One F-104 flown by Captain Philip Smith suffered navigation failure, and as the result, it approached the Chinese island of Hainan. It was then intercepted by Chinese MiG-19s and shot down. For more details, check the suggested video. Number 4. One of them was almost shot down in Desert Storm. As Dan Hampton describes in his book Viper Pilots, on 19 January 1991, he was returning from a SEAD mission over northern Iraq in his F-16. Being already in Turkish airspace, he expected no more threats, but suddenly the F-15 escort reported a pop-up contact ahead of them at 15 miles. Hampton's leader, flying an F-4G, gave the order to bracket the bogey. He turned west while Hampton turned east. This way, the bogey would have to choose one of them and expose himself to the attack by the other. F-15s were flying high, trying to identify the bogey on their radars. AWACS controller was surprised, and the most logical explanation was that one Iraqi fighter somehow slipped into Turkish airspace and was trying to shoot down the tankers. Hampton's radar achieved the lock, and he saw a dark speck charging at him from below at over 500 knots and 8 miles away. He sidewind the lock, and he waited for the Eagles to identify the aircraft using their onboard systems. Suddenly, Eagle pilots reported with a disappointed voice that the aircraft was friendly. Hampton was still turning into the bogey, noticing the two F-15s following it, and believing that they might have made a mistake since the airplane seemed like a MiG-21 to him. Finally, he identified the markings of the Turkish Air Force. This was a Turkish Starfighter whose pilot thought it would be interesting to fly along the border in the path of hundreds of armed combat aircraft flown by trigger-happy pilots. Number 5. Despite high losses, it was a safety improvement for the Luftwaffe. The new German Luftwaffe was formed in 1956, and the first combat aircraft it operated was Republic F-84F Thunderstreak. This was a swept-wing variant of the F-84 Thunderjet, and Germany also introduced its photo reconnaissance version, RF-84F Thunderflash. Luftwaffe ordered a total of 450 F-84Fs and 108 RF-84Fs. As a subsonic jet, it was already outdated when it entered the German service, and its replacement F-104 was introduced in 1961. F-84F and RF-84F were retired in 1968, and in that time, 162 of them were lost. This represents 29% in only 12 years, and such a high figure is attributed to inexperience of the new Luftwaffe. With the exception of a few World War II veterans, most pilots and ground crew were not adequately trained. Total number of F-104 starfighters lost in German service is 292. Compared to the total number of 916 in service, this is a slightly higher loss percentage of nearly 32%. The last F-104 was retired from operational service in Germany in 1987, which is 26 years. So the Luftwaffe was losing 11 starfighters per year on the average, while with the earlier Thunderstreak it was 13.5. Not a dramatic improvement, but still an improvement. And how does the Starfighter compare to some other fighters of its generation? English Electric Lightning, a beloved plane which never received any nicknames such as Widowmaker or Flying Coffin, suffered comparable losses per number of flying hours, while having 2 engines and without being used in a dangerous low-level strike role. Mirage 3 and 5 also had terrible loss rates in some services. Royal Australian Air Force lost 40 out of its 114 Mirage 3s in 26 years of service. Some Soviet designs from that era also suffered heavily. Sukhoi 9 and 11 family seems to be the worst in that aspect. MiG-21 in the Hungarian service had even higher losses than F-104 on flight hour basis. Of course, the general public in the communist bloc was not aware of this, and their press couldn't write bombastic titles about it. We can conclude that it was probably the sheer number of crashed starfighters which caused its bad reputation, because Luftwaffe operated a very high number of them. If you liked the video, don't forget to press the like button. Be sure to try the Conflict of Nations by clicking the link below. Support the channel on Patreon to ensure future content, and keep watching Showtime 112.